From creating actually terrifying zombies to really living in the post-apocalyptic world, there are a lot of things that The Last of Us can learn from The Walking Dead. Starting with the villains. Episode 4 of The Last of Us took us away from Joel and Ellie's story to explore an antagonist's point of view. We met Kathleen, a rebel leader struggling with her sense of justice while her people are on the hunt for Henry. Episode 5 reveals why she's so intent on finding him. Henry is the one who betrayed her brother to Fedra, leading to his death. The Last of Us gives Kathleen and her group the same attention that made the Governor arc in The Walking Dead so compelling. It shows us their desires and motivations, turning them into more than just faces with guns. They are people in a story. The series also explores another interesting element regarding villains, their softer side. The Governor had a zombified daughter, Penny, that softened him in the viewer's eyes until he inevitably did something horrible again. We see the same with Kathleen. She mourns for her brother, and I have to say it's easy to sympathize with her before she goes back on her mission for justice. But that's not all. There's still more they could learn. One of the only issues with The Last of Us is its pacing. It's almost as if every episode has a guest star of the week format, similar to the CW's The Flash or Supernatural. Every character that isn't Joel or Ellie is introduced in one episode and then dies quickly in either the same or the following episode. This creates an effect that makes it feel like the show is moving too quickly at times. Take Tess, for example. She was introduced in the premiere episode and then died by the second one. Her death serves as motivation for Joel to help Ellie, but then there's episode 5, which had Henry, Sam, Kathleen, and Perry all dying in a matter of hours. It's understandable that not every antagonist or character can last for entire seasons, like Alpha from The Whisperers or Shane from The Walking Dead, but it would be nice if The Last of Us allowed some of its characters to have a few more episodes to explain their motivations and fears, much like The Walking Dead did with Nicholas. This doesn't mean that The Last of Us should have 16 episodes dedicated to the same villain each season, but it would be nice if they could spend a couple of episodes fleshing out each character's story. We don't need every single villain to have as much depth as Alpha or Negan did, but it would add an extra layer of complexity and entertainment to the show if we got to learn more about some of these characters before their quick exits from the show. But there are also things The Last of Us does better than The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead's pilot episode, Days Gone By, basically shows us what the world looks like through Rick Grimes' eyes. We follow him as he learns more about the world and its mysteries throughout the first and second seasons. The Last of Us, on the other hand, pretty much spoon feeds you information about the post-apocalyptic world through its characters' experiences. Now, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, it's just different. The Walking Dead takes a long and winding path to instill a sense of hope in its viewers. It takes Rick Grimes several seasons to really understand the world he's in, and the survivors he meets along the way aren't always friendly. But The Last of Us gives us a tiny glimmer of hope from the very beginning through its protagonist, Ellie. The Last of Us is all about the relationships between characters and how they interact with the post-apocalyptic world.
This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
It's not just about shootouts, but more importantly, it's about the conversations and trades that take place between survivors in order to stay alive. This is something The Walking Dead only touched on after Rick disappeared into the future, but The Last of Us dives right into it.
You gotta help me. Come on.
Leave. Leave.
Shut up, Joel.
Take the gun.
Joel and Ellie's world allows for less surviving and more living. The Walking Dead has been around for over a decade now, but it was in season 2 when the show reached its peak. The group found themselves at Herschel's farm, and the show offered a much more nuanced look at surviving survivors than anything else featuring the governor, Negan, or some random desperate person on the road. The show toned down its violence, which meant that talking it out remained an option, and it made the world of The Walking Dead feel more realistic. But after countless betrayals from whatever new group the team encountered, it started to feel like violence was an inevitability. Then The Last of Us came along and changed the game by introducing a whole new level of drama in its scenes. In this post-apocalyptic world, the importance of human life was finally appreciated, and it made for much more interesting viewing. The Walking Dead told a specific story using the zombie genre, and The Last of Us follows suit in its own unique way. The shows are actually pretty different. The Walking Dead and The Last of Us both take place in post-apocalyptic worlds where the spread of a virus or infection has transformed. In The Last of Us, the United States government has collapsed and been replaced with an organization called Fedra, which is responsible for maintaining order and containing the fungal outbreak. That's why several groups have emerged, including Hunters, Smugglers, and the Fireflies, a militia formed to oppose Fedra's extreme policies. In The Walking Dead, we follow Rick Grimes as he searches for a better world. We get to see different sections, such as cannibalism, the prison, Woodbury, and Alexandria. These groups have their own unique laws and ways of governing, ranging from an authoritarian rule like the Saviors to more democratic governments such as in Alexandria. Not only are the governments totally different, but so are the zombies. In The Walking Dead, zombies are a constant threat, but it's the living who present true danger. Rick's group has come up against countless groups of humans, and the consequences have been devastating for them, with members of their team being killed or injured, including Rick himself losing his hand and suffering from a permanent limp. On the other hand, in The Last of Us universe, Joel and his companions face both the living and the cordyceps brain infection mutants. These CBI mutants are much more dangerous than TWD's zombies. They have increased strength, speed, and durability and are tougher to kill, sometimes requiring more than one headshot. Plus, as the fungus grows on the infected, it provides armor-like protection and even creates weapons. If you ask me, it's clear that humans in this universe must face a much higher level of danger than those encountered in TWD. Not to mention, they have different outlooks on life. The Walking Dead and The Last of Us have some very interesting parallels. In The Walking Dead, Rick Grimes is an avatar of hope, believing in the possibility that humanity can return to a civilized state despite all odds. He even maintains his optimistic outlook despite being faced with difficult obstacles. This is shown both in the show and comics, and even in the form of a statue built in his honor as a symbol of hope. On the other hand, The Last of Us has a much more somber tone, and Joel's actions represent this. By killing those who could potentially stop the fungus, he removes all hope for humanity. The spin-offs of The Walking Dead have drawn many comparisons to The Last of Us, particularly in the direction of TWD World Beyond and its similarities to Fedra. Well, that's how The Last of Us can learn a valuable lesson from The Walking Dead.